Hello and welcome to Studio Classroom on the air. Your English will improve today. I hope you believe it. I do. My name is Gabe. I'm happy to be one of your hosts here at Studio Classroom. And I have a question for you. Do you know anyone who suffers from depression? Or perhaps you do yourself? Well, this month's health article deals with depression. And I'm not just talking about, feeling sad for a day, but I'm talking about that awful condition that could last for a lot longer. Our lesson today is titled, A Different Way to Treat Depression. And I bet you'll never guess what object is suggested to use to treat depression. Okay, if you have your magazine open, then you already guessed it. Magnets. Can magnets really help people suffering with depression? Well, let's find out.
A different way to treat depression. Can magnets help people suffering from depression? More than 300 million people worldwide suffer from depression, and its symptoms are not just limited to a low mood or extreme sadness. People suffering from depression may also experience insomnia, changes in appetite, an inability to focus, constant fatigue, feelings of worthlessness or guilt, anxiety, or even suicidal thoughts. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, less than half of those who suffer from depression seek treatment. For those who do, the most effective treatments are medication and talk therapy. But these don't work for everyone.
Okay, let's get into this lesson about a different way to treat depression. And in this first section, of course, we learned about many different symptoms of depression. So someone who might be struggling with depression and what that might look like, right? But we read here, can magnets help people suffering from depression? Rebecca, did you take my magnets?
Well, no, I didn't take them, Gabe. You handed them to me. And I was thinking that these magnets could be very beneficial if I know somebody suffering from depression. All you do is play with them like this, right? Ooh, this is kind of fun.
Maybe. I think we're going to find out a little bit later. And I think it's not just playing with them in your hand. Oh. I think it's putting them on your head.
So I go like this?
Yeah, one on one side and one on the other side. That's perfect.
But then if I let go, they just fall.
Yeah, you need some stronger magnets. No, friends, that is not the kind of magnet we're talking about, not fridge magnets. But we're going to find out more about what special magnet is involved in helping treat depression later. First of all, how do we continue, Rebecca?
Well, we read more than 300 million people worldwide suffer from depression, and its symptoms are not just limited to a low mood or extreme sadness. Okay?
That's a great point.
It is a good point
to bring up, because all of us have experienced having a low mood. We're in a bad mood or just grumpy or really blue Mondays, right? Once a week at least. Or having extreme sadness for some reason. I remember a week in high school where I was really sad and I couldn't exactly explain why. And I said at the time that I was depressed, but looking back, I don't think it was real depression. It wasn't really a serious kind of depression. It just lasted for a week, and then I was kind of back to normal again.
Oh, right. And you make a really good point, because everyone at some point in time is going to experience extreme sadness, but that does not mean that you're suffering from depression. We read people suffering from depression may also experience insomnia, changes in appetite, an inability to focus, constant fatigue, feelings of worthlessness or guilt, anxiety, or even suicidal thoughts. So those are some pretty extreme symptoms of depression.
Exactly. Now, before we continue, let's take a look at that depressing word, but it's a good word for you to know, and it is suicidal, okay? That's an adjective. The noun is suicide. If someone commits suicide, that means they kill themselves. So if someone is having suicidal thoughts, that means they're thinking about that. And perhaps suicidal thoughts could also include just the idea of wanting to end your life, and you're not exactly sure how or why. But that's what a suicidal thought is.
Right. Or you could just use the word suicidal without the word thought. For example, if you think that someone may be suicidal, you really need to get some help. Go to somebody and ask for help.
That's right. And be sure to listen. Listen carefully to your friends and the things that they're saying. Sometimes you might think they're joking around, but maybe they're not, okay? Let's continue here. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, less than half of those who suffer from depression seek treatment. That's a normal human thing to try to solve problems by ourselves. We don't want to seek help. But we read, for those who do, the most effective treatments are medication and talk therapy, but these don't work for everyone. And that phrase, to work for, here in our lesson, you use this phrase when discussing a method that is suitable for somebody, but possibly not for everyone.
For example, when I'm feeling overwhelmed or stressed, I really like to go hiking. However, this doesn't necessarily work for everyone, but it works for me.
That's right. Works for you, but not for me, right? Well, we have more to learn, but right now I have mixed emotions.
Ooh, let's learn about that phrase in the Info Cloud.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Info Cloud. I'd like to start today's program by saying, congratulations, Rex! Because I heard that you recently finished graduate school with a master's degree in music.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Joe. During the last 2.5 years, I worked really hard because I wanted to graduate so badly. Now that I'm finally graduated, I'm not as excited as I thought I'd be. I'm having mixed emotions.
Why is that?
Well, I'm happy that I finally finished school, but now I need to find out what to do next. I feel a little lost. That's why I said I'm having mixed emotions.
When someone is having mixed emotions or mixed feelings, they are experiencing both positive and negative emotions at the same time.
So you might be excited about something that happened, but at the same time, you could be worried about what's going to happen next.
Speaking of emotions, there's another expression I'd like to share. Choked by emotion. It implies that when a person speaking, all of a sudden they get emotional and just can't speak for a moment.
For example, when Susan was sharing about her dad at the funeral, she was choked by emotion.
Usually the person talking suddenly experiences a choking feeling that prevents them from speaking more. That's why we say they're choked by emotion or just all choked up.
Well, friends, today we're talking about a different way to treat depression. And of course, you may be experiencing depression, or perhaps you know someone who is depressed or is going through depression. Of course, there are different treatments out there, like medication or talk therapies, visiting a counselor, having those sessions. But what about using magnets? That's what our lesson suggests. But what kind of magnets? Just any old refrigerator magnet? I don't think that's what our lesson's talking about. Let's find out more right now.
A different way to treat depression. Fortunately, there is another treatment available. Transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS. This unique form of treatment uses magnets to stimulate regions of the brain. TMS treatments are given according to a specific schedule and often include 20 to 30 sessions over a period of 6 weeks. During the 40-minute treatment session, a trained technician places a special device on the left side of the patient's head. This device sends out magnetic pulses into the area of the brain that is involved in mood control. After a patient completes the treatment, their depression may be reduced or completely disappear. As doctors continue to learn more about the brain, they hope to make this treatment even more effective.
So, Rebecca, the magnets that you have in your hand,
Got them right here. Do you need them? Are you feeling depressed?
you can't use those for transcranial magnetic stimulation.
Really? I thought these were the magnets that I would use for transcranial magnetic stimulation.
No, I got those. They're pretty cheap. One was from Yosemite, one's from Lanyu, off the coast of Taiwan. Those can't help you with your depression unless
what?
they're from a friend who was thinking about you when they got those magnets, and that thought that can help you with your depression.
So you're saying that positive thoughts can actually help with your depression?
Well, I think it possibly can.
Well, guess what? I have good news for you, though, Gabe. I'm not depressed.
I'm glad about that. I'm very glad about that. But friends, we know that a lot of people are, and here is something that could help. So remember this, TMS, okay? Fortunately, there is another treatment available. You don't need to remember these three words unless you want to. Transcranial magnetic stimulation. Cranial has to do with the brain, but you can just remember it's called TMS.
This unique form of treatment uses magnets to stimulate regions of the brain. TMS treatments are given according to specific schedule and often include 20 to 30 sessions over a period of 6 weeks. This sounds very intriguing, actually.
That's right, and very involved. You're not just going once or twice to get treatment. No, it's 20 or 30 sessions. Let's talk about that word session here. You can use this word in different situations. A session is a meeting or a period of time devoted to a particular activity. So your TMS session might look like this. You have a couple minutes where you're getting treated with this special type of magnet.
For example, sometimes after someone breaks a bone, they have to go to a physical therapist. And they might actually have to go every week they have to go to a session every week for 6 to 8 weeks.
That's right. I went through physical therapy in the past for my knee, and I think, I had to go like 2 or 3 times a week. Each session was only about half an hour. If you have a counselor or a mentor, maybe you could go to counseling sessions. That's what that time is often called. But we continue here. During the 40-minute treatment session, a trained technician places a special device on the left side of the patient's head, as you can see here. And this device sends out magnetic pulses into the area of the brain that is involved in mood control. Now, before we continue, there's a word we want to talk about. It does not appear in our lesson, but it means the same thing as send out. Actually, I think it would work very well in our lesson. The word is emit, E-M-I-T. It means to give off or to send out. Often, this word is used for things that you cannot actually touch.
Right. For example, you could say, Linda emitted a sound like laughter. In other words, she laughed.
Right. You could say that something was emitting heat. That means it was giving off heat. Perhaps it was emitting light, right? And here this device sends out or emits magnetic pulses to this area of the brain. After a patient completes the treatment, their depression may be reduced or completely disappear. So this is great news for someone suffering with depression.
And our lesson says, as doctors continue to learn more about the brain, they hope to make this treatment even more effective, and I think that a lot of people can benefit from this treatment.
And how are we going to bring transcranial magnetic stimulation to life in a review skit? Well, let's find out.
I suffer from depression.
Well, you are not alone. More than 300 million people worldwide suffer from depression.
I have low moods and extreme sadness.
Depression is not limited to only those symptoms. Some people also experience insomnia, changes in appetite, and inability to focus.
That's me. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I can't focus.
What about constant fatigue? Feelings of worthlessness and guilt?
That too.
Anxiety and maybe even suicidal thoughts?
Well, sometimes. So, I came here for treatment.
Good. Less than half of those with depression seek help.
So, what kind of treatment is effective?
Medication and talk therapy might help.
I've tried those, but they don't seem to work for me.
Well, fortunately, there is another treatment available. It's called transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS.
TMS? Mm-hmm. With a magnet?
Oh, yes, magnets can stimulate regions of the brain. Treatments are given according to a specific schedule.
A schedule with a magnet?
That's right. A trained technician places the special device on the side of the brain on the patient's head.
And then?
It sends out magnetic pulses into the area of the brain involved in mood control.
Will my depression be reduced after the treatment?
Well, who knows? Maybe your depression will completely disappear.
With a magnet?
As doctors continue to learn more about the brain, treatment may become even more effective. So do you want to try?
Maybe I'll wait until doctors learn more about the brain and magnets.
Okay.
Well, what about you? Are you experiencing depression, or do you know somebody who has these feelings of worthlessness, sometimes helplessness or hopelessness, chronic fatigue, perhaps suicidal thoughts? Maybe they can check out TMS, this treatment with this special type of magnet. All right, well, we do have a completely different lesson for you next time, so be sure to join us then, right here on Studio Classroom.
I am so proud.